Today I want to talk through how do you improve your answer to the interview question, why do you want to be a commercial lawyer? As you may know, this is a question that almost every firm will ask you in an interview, and so this is why it's really important to get it right. Now I'm going to talk about three things in this video. First, what is the purpose of this question? Second, where do candidates tend to fall down in their answer to this question? And then lastly, we'll go through this process to help you to improve your own interview answer. So starting with the purpose, I find it's very helpful to work out why is the interviewer asking this question, and that will help you to be more specific in the answer you do provide. Now, first of all, it's important to know that being a commercial lawyer isn't for everyone. The interviewer will know that not everyone has this interest in the legal side of the work, which is the day-to-day nature of the work. And so that should be clear from your answer. But at the same time, you're also not applying to be, a family lawyer, a criminal lawyer. You're applying to be a commercial lawyer, and that's going to be reflected in the work that you're doing, the people you advise, the nature of the advice that's being provided. And so this is why the interest from the commercial side is really important to convey as well. Second, suppose I'm a partner interviewing you. Now, I know how hard the training contracts can be. I know how the intense the hours can be at times, the pressures involved, the type of environment that you're going to be working in. And so this is why it's really important for you to convey, you know what you're getting yourself into, that you've got experiences that have given you a deeper understanding into what the role entails. Now, this is the thing that's going to keep you going when you find challenges. Otherwise, I'm going to be worried that when things do become difficult at times, what's going to keep you going if you haven't really thought about why you want this? And the last point to mention is, I've had thousands of applications, I've interviewed people over the course of several weeks, but I only have a few training contract places to offer. And so really I'm hiring for the long term. I want ideally people to become future partners at the firm. And I know this is becoming challenging because, the generation coming in, they're more likely to move to different firms, they're more likely to even leave the profession altogether. And so this is a factor to also keep in mind. How do you really convey how deeply you thought about this, that you want this for the long term, and that your reasons are genuine? All right, let's move on to where do candidates tend to fall down in their answer to this question. And I'll go through a series of examples that I'll show on the screen, and I'll talk through what the problems with these answers. See if you can work out what the problems are before I go on to explain it. So this first example, you'll see the language that's being used. For example, intellectually challenging, working in a fast-paced environment, helping people. Now, what's the problem with this as an interview answer on its own? The problem is you could say this for any profession, from teaching to healthcare to consultancy. You could say you work in a fast-paced environment, you enjoy helping people. And so the problem here is it's too general. And if I heard these as answers, my concern would be, do you actually know what you're getting yourself into? Similarly, words like intellectually challenging. To be honest, it's such an overused phrase at this point. Yes, fine if you have an academic interest in the challenges of the work involved, but think about how can you communicate that point in your own words. All right, let's look at another example. So this candidate is saying they want to be a commercial lawyer because they want to help clients to achieve their business objectives. Now, on its face, this isn't a terrible answer, but on its own, it's very textbook. Now, let me explain what I mean by this by talking about the start of my interview journey. So this post that's on the slide, I remember when I began to go through this process, I Googled the term, why do you want to be a commercial lawyer? My reasoning was, okay, I know this is going to be asked. Let's see what other people have written about this answer. And I remember coming to this post, this was on the Student Room, first posted 13 years ago, and it's actually a very good explanation for how to come to your reasons. Now the problem is I try to adapt this reason into my own answer, and so I went to interviews right at the start and I would talk about I want to be a commercial lawyer because of this point, that I want to help clients achieve their business objectives. The problem here is it wasn't authentic to me, and it was very clear from the way I talked about it that it was something that I had read or heard about. It's the kind of answer that many candidates will give, and the problem was also when interviewers asked follow-up questions. I didn't really understand what I was saying here, and so my answers quickly fell down because it wasn't closely connected to my actual reasons for wanting to be a commercial lawyer. So what we want to keep in mind here is your answers should be personal and specific to you. I'd look at your own answers to this question and think about, is this actually my answer, or is this an answer that I've adapted from someone else or something I've read? All right, let's look at another example. So this answer is better. It's actually being quite specific and shows an interest in the nature of the work. But what is it missing here? Well, on its own, the point isn't being backed up by any experiences. And my concern here would be, do you only have this theoretical interest in becoming a commercial lawyer and the nature of the work? Or do you have any experiences that have helped you to understand what the role is actually like? Because there is a very big difference between studying law and the practice of commercial law. Now, this example starts by being backed up by experiences. So if I look at this answer, it says studying business management and the law at Exeter University that affirmed their decision to become a commercial lawyer. Now let's look at the next sentence. and I'm looking down to read this, it not only entrenched my technical understanding, but also showcased the interplay between the legal world and its economic underpinnings by reflecting on the lawyer's role in espousing technical advice. Now, what's the problem with that? First of all, it's very hard for me to say that because of the complexity of the language. It's very long-winded. This is a challenge I see where candidates sometimes, they're trying to take their answers that they provided in an application, which is absolutely fine, they should be your reasons, but they're trying to relay this in an interview. There is a difference very often between how you write and how you speak. And so I'd keep in mind, how do you convert the writing that you have into an answer that you say? Now, the point to make here is you do not impress an interviewer by the complexity of your language or using big words to justify your points. It's actually so much more impressive if you can communicate your points clearly. All right, so now we've looked at examples. What would be a better answer to this question? And I'm going to take you through this process I mentioned. Really, the hope is to develop your ability to reason from first principles. What I mean by that in this context is just how do you come to answers that are actually yours, based on your experiences and personal to you. And those answers then are so much more likely to be unique because they are based on, the journey that you've been through. Okay, now we're going to try a practical exercise to improve your answer to this question. So what I need you to do is get a piece of paper and a pen. I'm going to ask a series of questions. Pause the video for 2 minutes, so time yourself, and just write. And so that's the one rule for this exercise, which is you're not allowed to filter at this stage. You just have to write your answer to each question that I asked, whatever comes to mind. The reason behind this is you can worry about turning your answers into more of an interview answer later on. At this stage, we just want to get better at converting your thoughts into written form. Now, onto the questions. As I mentioned, pause the video after each question, time yourself for 2 minutes, just write, and then replay the video and go on to my next question. What is unique about commercial lawyers compared to other types of business professionals? So here you can think about investment bankers, consultants, other types of finance roles. Why am I interested in becoming a lawyer? Why am I interested in becoming a commercial lawyer? And don't worry if there's overlap between the last question. What experiences have I had that have shown me why I want to become a commercial lawyer? All right, so don't worry if you found that difficult, especially if this is the first time you've really just sat down and wrote your answers to these questions, and especially those questions about, how do lawyers differ from other types of roles? What you should find now though is you have answers that are very specific to you. You have a range of experiences to draw from that have helped you to convince you of your motivations, and then you can worry about packaging this up into an interview answer. The most important thing to remember from this video is the best answers are going to be personal and specific to your journey, and in that way they won't be shared by any other candidates in their answers.